What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Lunchtime Livestream. This is my garage. This is the lovely place where I do a lot of the streaming from. Regretting it a touch today because it's a little on the chilly side in here. I think it's 59 degrees right now in my office, and that's with the heater running right next to me. But I've already got all my stuff set up in here, and it was just a lot easier. And my office isn't a whole lot warmer at the church either. So it is good to be on here with you guys today. New year, new time. It's 2021. It's no longer 2020. And I want to bring in my good friend Rob Harlemert to celebrate the fact that it is no longer 2020 now. So how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You want to turn your mic up just a hair for me, man?
Yes, I'll try.
Awesome. So 2021 is going to be a heck of a year. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I don't think it's going to start off a whole lot different than 2020, honestly.
Probably not.
But I'm let's just say I have a lot of hope that it's going to end better than 2020 did.
I think it will. I
So
definitely think it will.
what do you got going on this year, Rob? Anything big?
I think that's an understatement. I think all of us have big things going on this year. So this year is starting off as the continual preparation and greater talk about the church plant that Catalyst and I are going to start in September of this year. Hey, I no longer say September of 2021. Now it's just September.
How
Isn't
about that,
weird?
man?
That's kind of crazy.
That's
So,
kind of awesome.
this year is starts off with a lot more conversations because it's the new year and the year that we're planting this church. You can actually talk about it a lot more, and people are actually more excited about it. It's not this thing in the far future of the following year, but of this year. So it's good. We're excited. I think everyone's excited, nervous, all the emotions when it comes to this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about you, John? You got anything crazy for this year?
I'm
Life
thinking
exciting?
about going back to taking classes again, and then going full time with the circus as a clown. I think that would be a lot of fun this year. No, no.
That's great.
No, I'm excited. What I do as a minister has changed, obviously. We're actually trying to figure out what my title is, and we're kind of working on that right now because I was the worship minister, and then I became the discipleship minister. And now my job has really turned into more of like an online social media, um, like this just weird all-encompassing online ministry job. And which is really cool because I get to do stuff like this. And if you've been on social media recently, you've probably noticed that the church is posting a lot more stuff. My wife told me no clowns. I'm not surprised by that.
What's wrong
And
with clowns?
also, Shannon Presley also said, "No look clowns, please."
Oh gosh, I didn't think about Shannon. What's
Yeah,
wrong with the
so
clowns? Don't hate on clowns.
Daryl Jordan thought I taught clown school. So thanks,
Well,
Daryl.
that's
Appreciate
good.
that. Um, and then she
That's what
goes,
we
"No
want.
clowns, I meant." Um, no, so my whole job has changed, but one of the things that I'm taking on this year that we're gonna start, and it's all off of the series that we're getting ready to do starting on Sunday. The Countercultural Marriage is the series
Yes.
that we're getting ready to start. And we just got done with Dave's State of the Church this week, but we're getting ready to start this Countercultural Marriage series. And then on the 13th of February, and this is the first announcement of it, but on the 13th of February, we're going to have a marriage event. We're actually going to be starting our marriage ministry at Catalyst. And on that Saturday, it's going to be like a 10 o'clock to about 1 o'clock kind of thing. And we're actually going to kick off a full-blown, just like you would a youth ministry, children's ministry, small group ministry. We are starting off a marriage ministry because we noticed that in 2020, marriages took a major league hit.
Yes.
And
Yeah, they
it's
did.
important. It's important to get at the root of what marriages need to be and where people need to be in their relationship with their spouse. So on the 13th of February, and we'll be getting more of that later, but we're gonna having our first big event. Actually, look at this. Renee Basham likes it. I think it
We
sounds
like
pretty
it.
awesome too. I think it's pretty awesome too. So
We like it too.
we're going to be getting into that. So I'm excited about starting that up this year. That's something that I'm really excited about. It's basically the way it's going to work is we're going to meet 4 times a year, and then we're going to have homework basically to send home with couples that you'll be doing weekly with your spouse throughout the year. So really looking forward to that. Dave and I are real excited about getting that started. Uh, we're saddened and excited for you at the same time,
Yep.
because as much as we're excited for you to plant a church, we're not excited for you to leave, but
Yeah,
that's all a big part of it. That's how it works. So
I know.
we are prepping ourselves and getting ready for that, and starting to look into the hiring process of a new youth minister. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just weird to talk about, man.
I know. I mean, we went through it with children's ministry, which was weird as well, a little bit. But that was more exciting. Obviously, this is exciting too. I mean, with a new youth minister, brings a new excitement to everything. I mean, you got a new person on staff. That's what happened with children's ministry. Even though Jenny was a part of our church for many years, it brought a new excitement. So that will bring a different excitement for youth ministry as well, which is great. That's what we need at all
Exactly.
times.
So I want to talk a little bit about what Dave talked about this week in a roundabout way. We're not really going to like go through his points or anything like that, but
That'd take too long. He preached for 47 minutes.
he preached for 47 minutes.
Preached
Um,
47 minutes.
but it was a good 47 minutes.
It was a great 47
It was a
minutes.
really good 47 minutes. It was a very good sermon.
Yes, it was.
But his main thing was that spiritual immaturity will ruin us and spiritual maturity will prosper us. And I'll just hand it over to you for a second.
Oh man.
When you read that, what do you think?
Bring that back up 1 second so everybody can see it.
Yeah. Spiritual
Spiritual
immaturity
immaturity.
will ruin us. Spiritual
Yes.
maturity will prosper us.
Yeah, I loved he said that and I was thinking about it for a while, but I thought he did put it great in perspective of immaturity is not a bad thing at all times. And I don't know if you wanted to talk about this later, but that's immediately what I thought about in the best way, because a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people sometimes get stuck in the maturity level of their spiritual life. So right after they get baptized, it's so most people stop right there. And any sort of learning or maturing in their spiritual faith or walk just happens on Sunday morning, mostly. There's not like much discipleship or learning or exercising their faith in any sort of way. And Dave mentioned that whenever you are a new believer, it's okay to be spiritually mature. Like
Right.
it's not a wrong thing. Like we don't expect you to go or anybody expects you to go to the most intelligent people and have a theological and doctrinal debate with people who don't believe in Christ. Like that is not what we expect anybody to do. That would probably set you up to fail in most instances. I know that when I first got baptized, I tried to do that and end up being very discouraged really, really quickly.
Right.
But, as you grow and as you continue in your faith, eventually the things that you tried when you were younger in your faith and it didn't work out will eventually become easier. And that comes with the maturity of faith and exercising.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think another thing that I think, I'm trying to think of the best way to word what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that his allusion to children,
Yes.
especially little ones, I don't expect my 2-year-old to even act like a 3-year-old.
Nope.
Even though he's going to be 3 in a month, and he better start acting like a 3-year-old soon. But no, I don't expect my daughter to act like a teenager, even though sometimes she tries to,
Yes.
because that's not where she is. And I think in many cases with churches, and not necessarily Catalyst or any church in particular, but with a lot of churches, you see where someone gets baptized immediately, they want to put them into a teaching role. or
Yes,
they want to
that's
throw them into a
a great
leadership
example.
role. And what they do is they're not ready for it, and so their experience is bad, and it actually damages their faith.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
And so I think for a lot of people, when they become a Christian, the last thing you want to do is throw them into the fire immediately
yes,
when they aren't ready for it.
yeah,
Um, there has to be a place where there's nurturing and growing, and that's where discipling comes in. And that was something
yeah,
Dave touched on that I want to touch on for just a real quick
yeah,
second.
yeah. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter if you're out doing things in public. It doesn't matter if you're at home quarantining. It doesn't matter where you are. If you are a believer in Christ, you should still be discipling.
Yes,
And that was a huge statement because I think a lot of us, and we don't realize it. I mean, here, I'm just going to throw something out there, but Dave sent out a message on Facebook maybe a month ago and said giving had been down.
yes,
And just by simply sending out that message, um, people who had either forgotten or had gotten lackadaisical about it, all of a sudden the giving got back to normal. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I think for all of us, sometimes we just need that reminder on things.
I
And I
agree.
think for some of us who got stuck at home, discipleship wasn't the first thing on our mind. I think probably the first thing on our mind was, I hate quarantining,
Yes,
you know,
I
and
think
I
that was
hate,
everyone.
yeah, and I hate not being around people.
Yeah,
But there's a danger in that mindset because we have a society where now you can be with people, although not live and in person, you
yeah,
can communicate with each other. Look what we're doing right now.
yep,
You know,
exactly.
15 years ago, when you were just a little guy, could you have imagined that you and I would be sitting in our homes talking on our computers with cameras, and then this is going out so that everybody who's watching right now can see it?
Yeah, the communicating part, yes, but not this live stream uh, like this. No, I didn't think this would be possible with the way, at least not affordably. I thought
Yeah,
it was, like cost 20, $30,000 to get to be able to do this, and
right?
even an iPhone or your phone, not even an iPhone, any phone has a thing now that you can just do this. You can pop in and say, "Hey."
Yeah, it really does. And so it's really cool that we have this opportunity now. And so
Yeah,
just because we're stuck at home does not mean that all of a sudden we don't continue to do what we're called to do.
yeah,
And I love that.
yeah,
And Laura Baxter actually just posted on here, so true. Being stuck at home and not being allowed out but once every 2 weeks opened the door for me to lead a Bible study with teens who live 6 hours north of where I am. Think about that for a second.
that's cool.
6 hours
6 hours more.
away, and she's leading a. And here's the great thing: Laura is in Honduras right now.
Yeah,
Like
she is.
we're talking to her, literally like several hundred, if not a couple thousand miles away.
Yeah, well, I remember long distance calling, and Laura Baxter. A conversation between me and her would have been expensive, and
Yeah,
now
this didn't cost us anything.
doesn't cost us anything, and
So
it's great.
it,
But I remember, well, I had a sermon right before Dave's, where I talked about that as well, where I talked
well,
about some
that's probably
things.
where Dave got it from, anyways.
I'm
We
not
know
saying that.
he likes to write all of his sermons based off what you teach him.
Oh gosh, yeah, and well, me and Rachel talk, and then we write his sermon for him.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay,
Yeah,
good deal.
only when I preach the week before. But I mentioned that in most instances, whenever like something traumatic happens or something changes, naturally as humans, we go through our checklist of like looking at ourselves, looking at our household, looking at our family, and we kind of check those things off to make sure that we're good first, and then we can continue to do what we're doing.
Right.
And what I found this year is we just continued because things change so often for us, like weekly or just like even little things. We just stayed doing that checklist. We just kept on doing it every single day. Like, are we good? Is my family good? Is my house doing okay? Is my bank account doing okay? And we never continued to do what we were doing before. So like the giving situation, discipleship, evangelism, meeting with people, whether it's like we talked about here or even in person, all those things kind of went to the wayside because we continued to look inward at ourselves to make sure that we were doing the right thing. which I said is not the wrong thing to do.
No,
But a
no,
lot
no.
of us never got past that. So I really encourage people, and today I really encourage people, if you're still doing that checklist of just looking at yourself, I think you're okay. I think you're good.
Mhm.
We've been doing 10 months of checking ourselves. We need to not forget the people that are around us as well.
Yeah, so I want to ask this question then for everybody that's online. I do want you guys to comment on this. How will 2021 be different?
Yes.
How are how are how are we going to get past what we went through in 2020? Because the big thing is right now, everybody was so excited about 2020 ending, but what's going to be different about 2021 to make it worth living, uh, make it worth being excited about, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I love what Renee says here. She goes, "We can't pour from an empty cup, but also sometimes focusing outward fills our cup."
You
And she's
can.
right. She actually, I didn't post this earlier, but she is a doula, and on Sunday, uh, she was in at a birth for 40 hours starting on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
That's crazy, and that's something that she does as a ministry that's pretty awesome.
I
So let
agree.
me ask you guys, online, what's going to be different about 2021?
Yeah.
What
I'd love to
what
hear
is
the answer
there
to this.
what is there to be excited about? Rob, I know you've got a church plant coming in 2021, so your different is going to be massively different. You're moving from being a youth minister to being a lead senior minister, to
Correct.
being the guy in a
Yeah.
church. Uh, how daunting is that for you this year?
It hasn't I don't think it's fully like come around yet. I still have the youth ministry responsibilities. Um, though I am having a lot more conversation with adults, which is nice. I do enjoy that. In reality, we can stop and what Victoria, you said something. I want to see.
Yeah, Victoria said, "For me, in 2021 will be different for me by daily prayer, scripture study, and devotionals. I lacked a lot of faith in 2020, but I'm
Hmm.
leaving that behind and want to lean on God more than ever before in 2021." I think probably becoming a parent plays heavily into that as well. And so we're excited for her and
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
with having their first little baby. And then Kaylee got on here and said 2020 was a very inwardly focused year for me with having a new baby and COVID. I'm so excited to be more outwardly focused and expanding the kingdom of God in 2021.
Yeah.
And you've kind of got her pigeonholed on that anyways, because she's got to go with you to this church plant. So
Yeah.
she's gonna have to be doing that stuff.
Yeah. She's stuck. She
Yeah,
can't.
she's stuck with you, dude.
She has to. She has to come. She has no choice.
Daryl Jordan says expanding my side hustle even more.
That's good.
So yeah,
That's
that'll be
always good.
great. I know Daryl's working towards the idea of having his own business and
Yeah.
living off of that. So I'm really hoping that works out for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
let's talk
Um,
more about what's going on over the next few months as you lead up to
yeah.
you leave at the end of May,
May. Yes.
and the church plant officially has its first services in September. Is
Yes.
that the plan as of right now?
The weekend after the holiday in September, is
Okay.
what we'll do. We'll do a month long, um, kickoff. We'll do a kickoff month of like 4 or 5 weeks. The reason for that is a lot of times, and I think Catalyst experienced this, like their first Sunday, your kickoff Sunday, you probably have like hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And then the next Sunday you have like
40.
60 or 40 or whatever, like, so
Right.
what we want to do is make sure that doesn't happen. Especially we don't know with COVID stuff. We want to, if there's churches that want to come and like Catalyst, if we have a Sunday for Catalyst that wants to experience it, we can have them on week 2 or 3 instead of the first week. Same with other churches around that are going to be a part of this church plant. So we can kind of schedule things that the people that just want to check it out and support us in our first couple weeks, not to have 500-600 people there on the first Sunday, and then drop down to 30, 40, 50 or whatever it's going to be
Right.
at the second week. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to change right when May ends, because we're not going to have services. We're to do pre-services about 5 or 6 weeks before September. So I have like 2 months of where I'm not technically leading a Sunday morning service or being a part of a Sunday morning service on staff, which is going to be really weird for me. And I
After 6 years of doing that, yeah, that would be really
it will be,
weird.
yeah, 6 years. I think my last Sunday is a is 6 years in 1 week starting at Catalyst.
And is that
Like,
Memorial Day weekend?
yes,
Is
Memorial
that
Day
right?
weekend.
Memorial Day weekend? So anybody who's planning on being gone Memorial Day weekend, don't do that
Yeah,
because we're
don't,
gonna have
that's
a
silly.
big celebration of Rob's time here, and we're gonna love on him a lot, and, so yeah, don't miss out on that, folks.
Yeah, yeah. And
Don't
Dave
miss out on
said there's no reason to ever miss a Sunday anymore.
That's right. You can but we can't come to the party if you're online.
Oh, that's true. That's
So
true.
so you people who are out of town who watch the service, just come in town for a weekend. You
Yeah,
need to
that'd
meet
be great.
Rob
We'd love to
right
meet you
before he
anyway.
yeah, meet Rob right before he leaves.
Yeah.
Um, Rob Pemberton put up here, for him, it's music, making worship music with other human beings again. Last time for me was in April.
Yes.
Um, it'd be
Yes,
good
Rob, we
for
miss
him.
you.
Yes, big time.
Yes.
Renee Basham, we are actually within our birth ministry spending more time connecting and we're spending more time with clients. We're pouring a lot more into our clients. Personally, I have big goals as well that focus on a lot of connection as well. Every year I pray about a word of the year, and this year God gave me connect. We're going to hang on to that for a
Big
second. I'm
fan
going to
of
read
that.
Lisa's, and then we're going to come back to her comment. Actually, here's Shannon. Life hit me hard in 2020 with the loss of my mama and nephew 3 days apart. I've been stuck in my life, but 2021, I plan to overcome and focus more on God with daily prayer and read my Bible more. Amen. That's awesome. Lisa, 2021 will be different being a part of a church plant, and I've never been on staff in ministry in a church before, so that's nerve-wracking but so exciting. I'm also staying in my Bible and reading and studying more. I read through the Bible in a year. For the first time this year, I read through the Bible in a year, the first time this year, and I want to do it again and dig deeper. That's incredible.
That's great. I
Um,
didn't know Lisa did that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and so
awesome.
I do wanna move on to something, like, this was something that my wife and I, we got to go, we were in Somerset for New Year's Eve this year. We had some friends that invited us down for New Year's Eve, and so we went down there, and what we found was we had an hour and a half down, and then another hour and a half back to talk with no worry of being interrupted by children. And we had the best conversation. And one of the things that we talked about was how several years ago, one of our worship leaders was doing the communion and offering time. And they brought up this idea that every year they come up with a word of the year, which is what Renee talked about just a second ago. And so she and I talked, what will our words be? Um, and so I want to throw out the question for everybody out here. What is your word of the year? What is that going to be for this year? Funny, my wife commented right before I posted it, but she actually put up here. Let me see if I can find it. Being intentional. Intentional was a word she told me was going to be her word this year with my relationships, marriage, friends, kids, but most importantly, God. So, and then Laura Baxter said, life and ministry could change so quickly. Sometimes we thought we were preparing for it can look completely different overnight. Going into 2021 with open hands, more so than years before, being obedient and excited to see what the Lord does, leading
Yes.
into the word abide for this year. So,
Abide.
uh,
I like that.
Ria was intentional, Laura was abide, and connect is what Renee said. I know my word for this year is momentum. I want to see momentum built into a lot of the things going on in my life, especially within the church. Just seeing, in a year where we're coming off of the strangest year in church history. I'm really interested to see what kind of momentum we can build this year so that
Yes.
when we go into 2022, we're not as glad we're out of 2021,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So looks like Victoria, her text says hers is gratitude. That's a great one. And patience. She said, and patience.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I love Shannon's
Overcomer.
overcomer.
I like that.
That is a great word. Yeah, and then Renee Basham also said connect. In the past, ataraxia change in 2020. Boy, was that a thing. So what about you, man? I'm kind of throwing this on you in a spot,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
real quick, but what would you say would be kind of a word to put towards your year?
So just the overall theme probably would just be trust or trusting. Um, there's a lot of things, especially in church planning, and you know this because you went through it 12, 13 years ago, is you want to control everything
Yeah.
in church planning and even in church in general. We went through this at the end of the year, even with giving, where it was down a little bit, and we just needed to trust that God was going to stay faithful to what he said we need to do at this church, at Catalyst and for the church plant. And we need to pray and seek God and what he pushes us towards. And we need to trust that. And we need to not, when things get a little short or a little uneasy, jump in and try to change everything because we want to be in control.
Right.
So we really need to trust that God is going to provide in the things that he said he's going to provide in the scriptures. And things always go better that way. And I don't know why we always try to fix it. We do it every year. So
That's every human being that's ever walked the face of this planet.
I know. I just get frustrated myself when I do opposite of what scripture says. like that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why.
Yeah. Looks like I like Ringo. Ringo just put open. I will open myself to others and be more open, more to time devoted to Bible reading. I like that. Yep, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, anybody else that's on, shoot us your word of the year. Just kind of curious, kind of what you all are thinking and what you think this next year is going to be like. I know for me, one of my hopes for the end of this year is that my son will be potty trained and that we will be done with diapers.
Ooh.
We will officially be out of diapers this year. That is a huge goal of mine this year. I know that's not a spiritual goal, but we're talking about maturity. And as children mature, they stop, using diapers. And so I'm really hopeful for that one this year. Ellie came out of diapers this past year, and I'm telling you, man, the money you save from not buying diapers is a joyous thing.
But we only have one kid, so it's really not that bad. But I can't imagine when we have two. It's there's some things that I've realized. One, I don't understand how people can have a baby outside of the church and afford it.
Right.
We've been blessed, and you have too. We've talked about this. How do people do it? I don't know. It blows my mind.
Well, we here at Catalyst, we have what we like to call the black market clothing market.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically just once someone with a boy, their kid grows out of it, they find out the next kid in the church who's the size down, and they trade out. And same thing with girls. Someone's got the older girl, they pass the clothes down. Then after that person gets done with, they pass them down. I think you have clothes that once belonged to Elijah Basham.
I believe it.
I think you did. I think you did. I think you're there. We got some more words popping up here. Rob Pemberton, selfless, trying to overcome my selfish fears. Ooh. Incredible. That's great.
Teach me.
Daryl, focused. Maybe. Need to focus on the great things and not the good things. Good things can keep you, but can keep you from the great things in your life. I really like that.
That's true.
I really like that. There's a huge difference. Yeah, Elijah, then Jack, then Christopher.
Perfect.
It's amazing how much good can be the complete enemy of great.
Yes.
How we can allow ourselves to think something's good enough and just move on and not strive to be better. And so I really like that. I like that, Daryl. Let's see, Kaylee, faithfulness and joy. She's selfish, man. She's picking 2 words. What's that all about? No, that's great. Selfish, faithfulness, and joy. I'll tell you what, man. When you're planting a church, you've got to lean on the joy.
Oh,
you got to lean in hard because finances get lean. You have people that come in to help start the church that disappear shortly after. Just a lot of heartbreak that can go into church planning as well as the joy. And so when you get those joyful moments, you've got to lean in on those and remember those, because as things get difficult, if you're not leaning in on that joy, you find yourself very depressed. And so I like that. And faithfulness, obviously. I mean, if you guys are going to be planting a church, you've got to be faithful. So So let's talk a little bit more about
Absolutely.
your church plant here. And
Oh,
as we keep going, if you still haven't posted your word of the year, and you're thinking about it, just go ahead and post those. I'm really enjoying seeing this. This is a lot
yeah.
of fun to be able to see everybody leaving these. Oh, here's one from Saul. Believe. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. Believe. Um, so Rob, tell me a little bit about kind of the team that you've got built up right now, and who they are, and what they're going to be doing.
Well, you like on staff, our
Yeah.
staff members? Yeah. So
Yeah.
uh, we have Andrew Dawson, who is currently a student minister like me over in Jesmond Christian, which is just right down the road from us. We grew up together at Bible college. We went to the same college. I've been doing ministry together for the past 6 years here in Jesmond County. We work together with our VBS sets. If you've ever been a part of one of our VBSs, it's a huge part of how we've worked together in the
They
past.
have been incredible.
Yeah, those
That's
sets have been
just
pretty cool.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same with his wife. So his wife is the children's minister there. So they're both leaving their jobs, and Drew's going to take on his title. I think is if he stays with it, is going to be the connections minister, or where he's doing more. He's got a lot of different little hats that he's putting on. He's not
So
just the worship minister or something like that.
he's not going to be great grand pope master Drew the Third.
No, I gave him free reign in what he wanted to be called. I did say you have to put on a business card though, so I think he settled with
Yeah.
connections minister, just not have questions, I guess.
He's the con minister, huh?
He's the con. Yes, the con. I'm
He's the
abbreviating
con.
it to be the con minister. That's good.
Oh, that'll
And
be
then,
great.
and then we
That'll be
have
great.
Lisa Sayre, who is, if you've been to a worship set at Catalyst, you've seen her lead music for years now, and she is going to be leading our worship ministry, being our worship minister.
She'll do an incredible job.
She'll do a great job. She's going to continue her job right now as a enrollment coordinator. I don't know her official title at Sullivan, and she'll do some part-time work with us, kind of like what Jenny is for Catalyst. That's what she's going to be for Elevate. Drew and I will be full-time starting out, and then we'll see what happens and how God blesses us as we continue. But as working at Catalyst, I start out that way.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see what God can do in just a very short amount of time.
Yeah, people are really having fun with this title thing right now.
JK,
JK, there's your new title. And then Daryl chimes in with con minister.
Con minister.
LOL. Yeah, I see how you guys are.
Oh,
I see how you guys are.
Tee that up a little bit. I'm sorry. So yeah, it's looking good. The coolest thing about church planting so far is connecting with churches and talking with them and seeing it's really encouraging. Mostly so far is seeing the hearts of other churches, even ones that currently financially can't support us right now, but just have the heart for church planting. And they're like, we want to help in any way we can. We've had churches that offer up like sound equipment and
Wow.
Now some of it's like older, but just the heart of it, like seeing them like, oh yeah, we want to help right now is really, really cool. Is really, really cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Interesting thing here. Victoria Hertek said, had no clue how much work goes into a church plant. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And we haven't even talked about paperwork and getting your tax ID set up and your tax exempt status. And and then you're talking property rental and moving your gear in and out, setting up chairs every Sunday, building your teams. I mean, yeah, church planting is a lot of work. I remember, luckily for Dave and I, we had both been part of church plants before we started Catalyst.
Yes.
And so we had been through some of that beforehand. So for us, that was really good. You really haven't had the same opportunity like we did on that one. So,
Only the only benefit that's a lie. The benefit when it comes to church planting, being a part of Catalyst when you guys first moved into this building, uh, helped out a lot because we didn't own the space.
right, we rented
So
it.
so we
Yeah.
were makeshifting everything because nothing could be, like, there forever.
Like that awful stage,
Yeah, the stage.
like
Yeah,
that evil,
yeah,
evil stage.
yeah. So, like, I'm trying like, our basement set up, having to tear down set up, every single week. That's a very small, comparison to church planning.
But it
But a
did
lot of the things
prepare.
that you mentioned, I did experience, because Catalyst still operated like a church plant when I got
Mhm.
here, because we didn't own, like, our space.
Yeah, we weren't permanent yet.
No, we were like, "We could be somewhere else in 2 years." I remember having that conversation whenever I got there, and, uh, that was I was convinced. I don't know about you, but I was 100% convinced that we were not gonna be in the building we are today.
Really.
I was like, "This is not gonna last. We're gonna go somewhere else. Either we buy a property and build or something." I remember believing that at one point.
I know there was a time when I wanted to.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there was a time when I wanted to. I'm not there anymore, but there was
No.
definitely a time when I wanted to. Victoria, she said, I don't know why I thought people buy a church and just start preaching. LOL.
Yeah,
Here's the thing, Victoria. You're not the only person that's ever thought that.
yeah.
Like, you are not alone. There are a lot of people when you talk to them about planning a church, they don't understand what you mean. Um,
Yes.
but you are literally going in and you are creating a brand new entity, basically, where you have to create culture,
Mhm.
where you are going to cultivate new leaders. You're going to attract people who have never been in a church before, because church plants are very um, let's just say your walls are down more in a church plant because it doesn't feel like a typical church,
Yeah.
and so it's not as intimidating. Let's just say that. Ringo's wondering, is there a Facebook page for Elevate?
Yeah. So you can just type probably in Elevate Christian Church and you know what the logo looks like. And it'll probably, because you're close to Lexington, will be the first one that pops up. I'm guessing Facebook's kind of weird. Or you can type in, I think it's elevate.lex is the handle for it. So Instagram and Facebook is the same.
Very cool. Lisa Sarah, she said her word for the year is expectant. She must have had her ears must have been burning during that last little section.
Nice.
Expecting God to do great things, expecting Him to come through on His promises as He always does,
Yes.
expecting Him to move in amazing ways, and expecting the Holy Spirit to do some crazy things in the heart of people this year. So expectant. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely.
So
I
Rob,
Go ahead.
when it comes to what Elevate, um, let's just say, what is the name? You got the name Elevate. I think the name Elevate is basically based off of the mission statement of your church.
Yes.
So what is the purpose behind the name Elevate?
So whenever we created this, in Lexington, it's a little bit different than Nicholasville. Um, and church is a little bit different now than it was back then. Most of the time you would just create a church and you would name it based on your location. So if you look at the Christian churches or even churches in Lexington, you got like Gardenside Christian Church, which is in Gardenside, and you got Tate's Creek Christian Church, which is on Tate's Creek Road, Broadway Christian, which is on Broadway. But as we run out of space, it's you have to create a name. And what we wanted to do was make sure the mission statement and the name and everything we do just kind of flow together. So it's very, very simple for people to understand, because I think we've gone past the everybody understands church and religion now, especially in Lexington. It's not where you can just say you're planning a church and then everybody just assumes that, or you just have to assume that everybody understands what you're about because you planted a church. So the mission statement of Elevate is to elevate people towards Christ. having the name and everything being vertical. So whenever you hear the name and you hear the mission statement, it goes together very, very well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I guess you didn't take much time to think about that, did you?
No, way too long, actually. I probably overthought about it and probably irritated some people.
You were talking to me about this a year ago.
It was longer
Like,
than a year ago. I
oh
can tell
yeah,
you
I
that.
guess it was. But you've been taught Elevate for a long, long time, and
Yeah, I
you were
went
like, "Do we call it Elevate? Do we call it Elevation? What you know what?" But I
yeah,
don't want to be Elevation Church because there's an Elevation Church already, and
yeah,
a lot of
I know.
conversations going on with that. Um, so Lisa, my ears were burning, but I'm also watching live right now. Well, good deal.
That's so your face was burning.
Yeah, her eyes were burning.
Her eyes were burning.
So remember, the church is not a building. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
It's
so
funny.
let's talk a little bit about kind of the fear a little bit of going into planning a church. And I want to talk about that because 2021, my hope is for 2021, everybody is stretched in some way. Anybody who was
Yeah.
ever in the worship team when I was the worship minister knows I will stretch you. Lisa, my face was melting.
No,
Um,
cool. I like that.
uh, but I was always big about if you were a vocalist, I wanted to stretch you and get you to sing notes you didn't think you could sing. If you were a guitar player, I wanted to give you parts to learn so that you had to stretch your ability.
Yes.
And it's not until you do those things till you're stretching yourself a little bit that you actually grow. And so it's my hope in this next year that we see everybody in our church stretched a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know that this church plant is going to stretch you something fierce.
Yeah.
And what is some of the there's no fear in planning a church. It's the easiest thing to do. It's Brian Bolton.
Oh, Brian.
That's great. Now, for those who don't know, Brian and Brianna Bolton, they planted Centerpoint Christian Church on the north end of Lexington several years before Catalyst did, and they're doing fantastic.
Yes, they are.
Actually, my wife's aunt and uncle go there and love the church. A lot of great stuff there. But talk to me a little bit, Rob, about just kind of the fear that sometimes comes in when you start thinking about this daunting task of planting a church. Look at this, 16 years ago.
16 years ago. Congratulations.
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's crazy. That's
Uh,
crazy.
the fear the fear that the biggest fear that I have is that I will not have the answers when I need to have the answers. Not that you need to have the answers all the time. Because I watch some of these senior ministers and I've had conversations with some of these senior ministers. Like Dave is a great example. I've had great conversations with Brian, Ernie Perry, and some other ministers that have left since since I've been here. But it seems that through experience, they've come to a lot of answers on all different circumstances. And I know with doing adult ministry, adults operate in a lot different way than students. And even though I've had quite a bit of life experience, I haven't had all life experience. And I don't want to be in a position where I say I don't know the answer to that like over and over and over again, because eventually you just feel useless and you're like, well, what am I doing here if I just don't know the answers to anything, or a way to direct people and fixing their current situation. I think that's my biggest fear in ministry in general. Like that's been my youth ministry, especially in children's ministry. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I figured it out. I I think that's my biggest fear, and it will always be my biggest fear.
Well, one thing I will tell you, and Dave and I learned this real quick. When you're a youth minister and you tell your kids to do stuff, they pretty much do it. When you
Yeah,
talk to adults, good luck. Um,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not the same, man. Um, Adults they run their own lives now. They're not kids. And so,
yeah. That's
trying to
true.
get an adult to do things the way you would a student is not the same. It is
Yeah,
way, way different.
the thing I'm looking forward to though with adults is when an adult decides to not do something or decides to do something, at least they're an adult. The thing that I've been frustrated me with youth ministry is watching parents make decisions for kids that are wrong, and the kids
Mm,
don't have a say.
yeah.
I think that kind of eliminates that scenario, which is the most frustrating because if an adult makes a decision, like, well, you're an adult, you can do what you want. I wish you did something else. But yeah, the watching a student not being able to do something because the parent had a different plan um, is probably the hardest. And we've talked about that before.
Oh
And
yeah.
anybody who's
Yeah.
done a youth ministry before, it's uh, it's difficult.
It's
So,
not fun either.
no,
It's not fun.
no,
Your wife is calling you out, man.
that's fine.
Said Rob knows that well. Don't tell me what to do is his favorite sentence.
Don't tell me what to do.
That is for those who don't know, who maybe you
Nice.
go to Catalyst or you don't go to Catalyst, but you don't know about this. Ever since Rob got here, he's had one statement that he tells Dave all the time, and that's "Don't tell me what to do." It's become this like inside joke with everything. Anytime Dave asks Rob something to do, even if Rob's going to do it, he'll just look at him and say, "Don't tell me what to do." Um, and now my wife is on here saying John is the same way.
Yeah,
What about that?
that's true.
Listen, here's another good one for you. J.R. Horn is on here right now. He was a
Nice.
student of mine in Cynthiana. Now he's in the mission field. Says not all of John's students listen well. Not that I would know anything about that.
Yeah.
Um,
We all
J.R.
have
Okay,
to.
funny story. We got some time.
Yeah, go
J.R.
ahead.
is the only student I ever kicked out of my house.
Yeah,
Only student I ever kicked out of my house, and he's now been in ministry for like 15 years.
perfect.
So
I need to kick all my
you want
students
to
out of the house.
Rob, you want someone to get into ministry, kick him out of your house. That's the best way to go. That is the best way to go. Um,
That's good.
so okay, so we've talked about all that stuff. We've talked about this next year. We've kind of gotten the words from everybody, which is really cool. I really
Yeah,
want to say
I
that.
really
Like,
like those.
thank you everybody who's been commenting throughout this because we want this to be more interactive. We don't want this just to be me and Rob talking the whole time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Brian Bolton said it's a pastor thing. Don't tell us what to do.
Exactly.
I like
He's
that.
getting it. I understand.
So I want to kind of shift a little bit and start looking ahead for this next series that we're getting ready to start.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this back up here so everyone can see it. The countercultural marriage. Um, this next year is I think for a lot of marriages is going to be pivotal.
Yeah.
I think quarantining and I hate to say it, not being able to escape each other a little bit. Uh, not only that, but because you're not able to escape each other, you actually have to face your issues. So hard conversations you weren't having because you could avoid each other. You can't avoid each other. So now those hard conversations had to happen. Um, I
Right.
think that played a lot into this past year in marriages. And so we're getting ready to start a series where we're pretty much solely focusing on the couple and on the married couple. And Rob, as we get ready to go into this, what are some thoughts that you have leading into talking about marriage and how is marriage countercultural?
Yeah. So I think this past year, 2020, a lot of ministers and people that you and I and Dave look up to mentioned that 2020 was going to be an accelerator for everything,
Yeah.
positive and negative on all sides. Where marriages that were probably on their way to failing were going to fail very quickly because of, like you said, being together and being in a different situation, and tension is a lot higher. Churches that were probably going to close their doors this year, and so it's going to be a great way where people can slow down and have a healthy conversation, and do it in the way that God intended uh, marriage to be, rather than like we talked about earlier, those checklists of just trying to make sure yourself is okay,
Yeah.
rather than looking to the Word and what we're supposed to do. Um, and marriage being countercultural is we see it in our government right now. Um, them trying to make individuals the power system, where when we see in scripture, we see a big heavy thing where marriage is good,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in some ways it makes things better, and we want to bring that back where marriage is good. And if
Mhm.
and two people working together, man, that is a good thing, and you can accomplish a lot for the kingdom having a partner in your life in a healthy way. So I'm
Right.
really excited. One, to maybe mend some relationships and marriages that are in our church and our community, but also just the marriages that are going well, empower them and make them better. Like I'm excited for everything to just continue to go upwards towards Christ. That is something I'm excited about.
Well, and I'm of the firm belief that when marriage is healthy in the church and when the family unit is healthy in the church
Yeah.
is healthy. And I think the
Yeah.
church is more effective. I think people who have never experienced a healthy family want to be somewhere where they can see that. I
Yeah.
think a lot of lost people who are struggling through life because they never had parents that told them they love them or never saw their mom and dad together because they were divorced before they were 4 years old. You
Yeah.
know, they don't understand this idea of a family unit being a positive thing. And so I'm really hoping as a church we can push this forward. And like I said, my excitement about all this is that the Saturday after that last sermon, which will be a celebration of marriage, the 7 benefits of marriage, is that we will take that next Saturday and kick off our marriage ministry.
Yeah.
And that we will actually see marriage ministry in the same light, like I said before, as we see a youth ministry or a children's ministry. Um, and it's my hope that this just continues to encourage the family and that we see families grow stronger. And for those who are single, it may not be a bad idea for you to come on out and be a part of this too.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with coming and learning how to be married before you're married.
I
There's
wish I did
nothing
that.
wrong with that at all.
That'd been
So,
nice.
yeah. So, real excited about this upcoming series. Family is such a big deal. I know to me and to you and Dave and Jenny, and all
Yes.
of our elders. So we want to make sure that we are doing our part to help motivate healthy Christian, God fearing families in our
Yes.
church. Now we've got some other series coming up this year too. I kind of want to talk about for a second. With being the first of the year, our uh, our theme for the year is maturity.
Yeah.
Last year was the adventure. We thought it meant we were going to go on a bunch of mission trips. What we
Yeah.
didn't realize is that the adventure was going to go far beyond that,
Yeah.
and was actually going to expand our reach beyond even what we thought. This live stream is part of that. We
Yeah.
just never saw this coming, and so this next year we're talking about maturity. So we're kicking off with a series on marriage. The next series is based off of 4-chair discipleship, which we've talked about in the past with Catalyst.
Yes.
And the series is called Move. And so we're real excited about that. And that's just trying to become a disciple, and not just a disciple, but a disciple who disciples.
Yeah.
And so we're real excited about that. We're starting a series up in April called the 40 Days of Grace. Uh,
That's awesome.
we're kind of coming back to something we did several years ago with that. Then we're going to talk about the 7 deadly sins in May and June. Then in July, we're going to talk about God's ways are the best ways. And we're going to go through Proverbs and talk a little bit through those. Then following Labor Day, we've got a series that I'm really excited about. And you won't be here. This is when you'll actually be gone. You'll actually be gone at this point, officially gone. But we'll be talking about a series called Fighting the Culture War.
Ooh.
What is the Christian to do? I'm really excited about that because if there's one thing that we are in right now,
Yeah.
it's a culture war. The
Yeah.
church is so countercultural, and the church is so different from what everybody else desires and wants to see. So, yeah. So, we got that. Then we're finishing up with series in Revelation, living in the end
Ooh.
times. So
That's cool.
real excited about that. This should be a good year. I mean, there's just a lot going on. A few
Yeah.
more comments here came in. Uh, Laura Baxter, when the family's healthy, it's because God is moving. And when God is moving, the enemy loses his hold on the family, which is the heart of the church. 100%. 100% on that. And Saul says marriage is a relationship in which one person is always right and the other is the husband.
Uh,
Oh,
uh,
thank you. That was great.
Wives.
That was great.
You're welcome.
So, needless to say, 2021 is shaping up to be an awesome year.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to say, I've had a few people ask me, are we going to be still going on these mission trips? And I
Great
can
question.
tell you, yes, we are. We are going to go on these mission trips. Any money you've turned in to be part of a trip, those trips will happen. We just don't know when they'll happen, because it's
Yeah.
really not up to us as much as it is up to airlines and other countries and all of that. So just kind of be prepared and ready.
Yeah.
As soon as we know more about these mission trips and things that we can do, we're definitely going to start getting the word out on those
Yeah.
and begin the process of planning for all those mission trips. I think we had, like, was it 7 or 8 mission trips
Yeah. Yeah.
last year that we were going on? So those are coming. They will be happening. So be prepared for that.
Yeah. The last
Outside,
thing we want you to do is send you somewhere and then the airline shut down.
yeah, that would be bad. That
Yeah,
would
we
be
don't
bad.
want that.
Yeah. So for all of you who have stuck around for this whole hour, thank you very much. As
Yeah.
always,
This was fun.
we love chatting with you guys. Thank you to everybody that shared along the way. This is the most I've seen in the chat room yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comments in here. As a matter of fact, yeah, there's like over 100 comments
That's
between
good.
YouTube and both Facebook channels. So that's pretty awesome, guys. Appreciate you all tuning in. Rob, as always, thank you for being
Yeah,
on
thank you.
the live stream with me. And until next week, we'll see you guys later.
See ya.